Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Horan here with a math lesson. And the last time we met for our math lesson, we talked about decomposing a number. We decomposed the number 5. And all that meant, that's a big word, it just meant that we broke it down, okay? We broke it down and found different ways to get to that number. So today we're going to kind of do the same thing. We're going to break down a number. And the number that we're referring to is going to be the answer to a number story. Okay, we're going to do some number story work today. And I know that you've done this before in your classrooms with your teachers, so this should feel like review. And if it doesn't, great, you can do it along with Mrs. Horan. We're going to work on 2 number stories together. The first number story is going to be a plus or an addition number story. An addition is when 2 groups come together and get bigger. And the second number story is going to be a subtraction number story. And that's when you have a group of something and it gets smaller, okay? So you will need a piece of paper. You will need something to write with, okay? I have my dry erase board here, and I have a marker, so I'm gonna use that today. Okay, are you ready to begin? Great, here we go. So the first number story we said was going to be an addition number story, and we can kind of create the number stories from our imagination. A good story, when you tell a story, usually starts with once upon a time, so that's how we'll start our number stories. Okay, once upon a time, there were 3 worms crawling around a garden. Let's draw 3 worms on our paper. 1, 2, 3. Draw your worms. Good work. Okay, once upon a time, there were 3 worms crawling around the garden. All of a sudden, 3 more worms joined them. I hear a bird in the background. I wonder if the bird hears me talking about worms, because we know birds like to eat worms. Okay, so right now you should have worms drawn on your paper. Okay, once upon a time, there were 3 worms crawling around the garden. All of a sudden, 3 more worms joined them. Here comes the question. How many worms were in the garden all together? Okay, see if you can figure out the answer. Okay, good work. You came up with 6. Let's check it out by counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice. So the next part of our number story job is we're going to create a number sentence to go with the story. So how many worms were in the garden first? 3. So let's write a 3, boys and girls. Around a tree and around a tree. That's the way to make a 3. We said this was a plus or an addition number story. We were adding, so we're going to make a plus sign. Go ahead and make your plus sign. You can look at Mrs. Horan's for help. And then how many worms came along, friends? 3 more, another 3. Make sure your 3s aren't backwards. If they are, just try again. Okay, and we need to make our equal sign. So we finish our number sentence. 3 plus 3 equals, and we came up with 6 when we counted. A line and a loop. Mr. 6 rolls a hoop. Nice work, friends. We just created a number story. We drew a picture to go with it, and we wrote a number sentence. Okay, turn your paper over. I'm going to erase my board. Now we're going to try our second number story together. This number story is going to be a subtraction. So this number story is going to be like 5 green and speckled frogs, where there's a group and then something happens and it gets smaller. Okay, and we're going to try to figure out the answer of how many were left. Okay, so I'm thinking about a story that's true story for Mrs. Horan, because I've made muffins a few times, and I noticed that when I leave muffins out in my kitchen, I have hungry children that come and eat the muffins, and the total group that starts, the group of muffins that begins, gets smaller, so they get subtracted or taken away. Okay, once upon a time, there were 5 blueberry muffins on a plate. Okay, so we're gonna draw 5 blueberry muffins. And remember, it's just a quick sketch. So If you are having a hard time drawing a muffin, you can just draw an oval to represent the muffin, okay? It's really okay for it to not look exactly like a muffin because we're just using this as our math kind of sketch right now, okay? Okay, but you want to make sure you have 5. So I'm going to check my work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Okay, let's continue on with our number story. So once upon a time, there were 5 muffins on a plate. 3 muffins were eaten. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use our marker or our pencil. We're going to cross out 3 muffins. X them right out because they went into somebody's tummy. 1, 2, 3. X'd out. Okay, here comes the math question. How many muffins were left on the plate? How many, friends? That's right, 2. You can see 1, 2. Excellent work. Okay, let's see if we can create that number sentence. Now, how many muffins did we start with? How many did we begin with? That's right, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to write a 5. Across and down, back up and around. Number 5's belly is nice and round. Okay, now this time we took away 3 muffins. So we have to put a subtraction symbol, and that's just a line that goes across. Then we're going to make a 3 around a tree and around a tree. That's the way to make a 3 because 3 of those muffins got eaten by somebody. Okay? And now we're up to what was left. So we do our equals. And how many were left, friends? 2. Around and back on a railroad track. 2, 2, 2. Nice work. So we just did a number story about muffins, and we wrote a number sentence, subtraction number sentence, that we would read like this. 5 minus 3 equals 2. Good work, everybody. All right. So together we just did 2 number stories. One was addition or plus, and one was subtraction or minus. So here's what I want to invite you to do. I would love for you to get a new piece of paper, if you have one. And I would love for you to create your own number story, okay? It can be using worms and muffins, if that's more comfortable for you, or you can think of your own idea, okay? You could do a plus, you could do a minus, you could add details to this number story. We were just doing a sketch because we were doing it together. We wanted to keep moving, but because you have more time, you can actually add details to your pictures. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples that Mrs. Horan did as my work. This was my first one, okay? My number story was once upon a time, there were 3 butterflies flying around in the air. Then 3 bumblebees came along. How many insects were there all together? And I came up with 3 plus 3 equals 6. And this time I added color to my picture, and I added some details to the butterflies and the bees, and I even thought about some labels. I wrote the word bee, butterfly, and sun. So those are some things that you can think about, okay? I have another example here that's similar to what we worked on, which was just the sketch with the number sentence. This is another option, okay? This number story is, once upon a time, there were 3 tall flowers in the grass. 2 shorter flowers came along and joined them. How many all together? 3 plus 2 equals 5. So you can just be a sketch artist and you can just do the drawing and the number sentence, okay? Or you can try to add some color and details and maybe some labels. Because you know your letters and sounds, you've been working really hard on them. You could just try. The last option you have is maybe you would like to do a subtraction problem and make a sentence to go with it. You've been working on sentence writing with Mrs. Rogers, and you've done sentence writing with Mrs. Horan and Miss Medeiros, and maybe you'd like to do a whole sentence. So Mrs. Horan has an example here. I'll read it to you. There were 8 cookies in the pan. 4 were eaten. How many are left? 8 minus 4 equals 4. Okay, and I crossed out 4 of those cookies on the pan. Okay, friends, so you have a few different options here for your work, okay? Your job is to create a number sentence using plus or minus. Okay. And then what I would love for you to do is to show a grown-up or a family member your number story. And maybe you can ask them to solve it. Okay, friends? If you have any questions, your grown-ups can email me anytime, and I'm happy to answer those questions. All right, friends, I know you're going to do great with this activity, and I'm really proud of your hard work. Have a great day and have fun creating your number story. Bye, everybody.